Kill procrastination and achieve personal development without losing your mind. Hi, I'm Jeshua with Magnificent You. Now, before we can get into how to fight procrastination, first let's get a little bit of a definition just to be sure that we're all on the same page here. Procrastination is the act of unnecessarily and voluntarily delaying or postponing something, especially something that you know is important to get done. Now, what are the causes of procrastination? Well, there are many, and in my opinion, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, is you don't take the thing you need to be doing seriously enough. Your priorities are potentially in the wrong place. Maybe you need to take a look at, do I really need to do this thing? And then if you don't really need to, you need to just drop it off your to-do list. But if it really is something that's important, either to you or your career or whatever it might be, you need to take a look at why you're not doing it and examine, okay, is it because I had to just rather do other stuff? You know, we have the examples of people finally getting around to cleaning their house because they have something more important to do, and instead of doing that, they still want to feel productive, and then they clean their house. Alright, now you know what procrastination is, and potentially how to figure out why you're procrastinating in the first place, which is very important. Now, I'm about to tell you one of the most powerful tools that I've found that you can use to get past your procrastination. But before I can tell you that, I need to tell you a story, alright? In his book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion, Dr. Robert B. Cialdini mentions a little scenario that happened with a slight shift in phrasing that really pushes forward the idea that I would like to convey to you. So, let's go into that story real quick. A friend of his, who's a divorce lawyer, often serves as a mediator between the divorcing parties. And, you know, before everything goes to court, she'll separate the two of them in separate rooms in order to, you know, keep everything as cordial as possible. And then she'll go through the negotiation, trying to get them to come to an agreement. They've already given their own stipulations in writing to her, and it's her job to make sure that the divorce is facilitated as painlessly as possible. Now, often, near the end of the negotiations, there's a deadlock that comes. Both sides dig in their heels. It's usually over something like, you know, the visitation rights for the child or for the dog. It might have something to do with who has to pay the other one out for the vacation home. Whatever it might be, they will almost always dig in right at the end, right when everything could end well, but then they have to go to court because nobody will agree on anything. So she asked him for some advice. You know, what can I do differently here that will make things more smooth for everybody involved? And he thought he saw the problem. So he asked her how she phrased the question. What did she say in order to basically make the pitch to get them to agree to the terms? And what she would say to them was, all you have to do is agree to this proposal and we will have a deal. He thought he saw the problem there, so he had her rephrase it a little bit. And so instead, she started to say, we have a deal. All you have to do is agree to this proposal. Now, what could be the difference there? It's almost the same. It's literally the same words, just reordered a bit. Well, a few months later, she talked to him again and said that now it worked every time. Every single time. Now, he doesn't necessarily believe that's true, but it works a lot more than it used to. Why is that? Some of you might already know what I'm getting to, and if you do, then you're already ahead of the game here. Of course, an even bigger question is, what does this have to do with overcoming procrastination? Well, I'm about to tell you. So what is the difference between we have a deal, all you have to do is agree to this proposal, and all you have to do is agree to this proposal and we have a deal? Well, it's about the framework that you put the person's mind into. When you say, we have a deal, all you have to do is blank, you're placing the idea in their mind that they've achieved the thing that they want. And if they don't do this other thing, if they don't do the thing you need them to do, that's getting ripped away from them. They're losing something. Whereas the original phrasing is implying, in the subconscious, gaining something. But we know from just general human experience, as well as all of the research, saying that humans are way more impacted by the threat of losing something we already have than by the benefit of gaining something we don't already have. Loss is a very, very powerful motivator. And this was the first place that I learned about it in this context of persuading other people. But then I was watching an episode of Dr. Huberman's Huberman Lab podcast, and he was going into, getting over some of these things and keeping yourself dedicated and disciplined for longer periods of time to doing productive things, and he stated that there's another very interesting thing that you can do to yourself, and it is the same mechanism. Visualize yourself having the win. You're there. You have it. You've achieved it. And then remind yourself that if I don't do this thing, my goal is impossible. I will not have it. See yourself, you have it, and then you take it away because you were too lazy to do it. Now, that might sound like, bad self-talk and all of that, because that's a big thing these days, and yes, self-talk does matter, but when it's in the service of kickstarting your behavior to move in the right direction, it's an extremely powerful tool that you can utilize. Scarcity and the threat of loss is a very powerful motivator. Now, if you do find that yourself personally, if you say you've lost the thing, you can't do it, and if that really just messes with your morale, then you can do the visualize the win. That does work. Statistically, just from our understanding of psychology, from my understanding of what we know, it's much more powerful to perceive the inevitable loss if you refuse to behave yourself, essentially. But you do you, this is just a tool that you can use within your toolbox that will hopefully give you some results. Now, something that I do want to talk about as well before we go is one form of motivation that a lot of people use that is absolutely horrendous if you want to actually achieve the goals that you're setting for yourself. And that is pursuing a reward. If the only reason you work out during the week is because on Friday you get to have your cheat day or your cheat meal, you are not going to be consistent with your exercise. And that is simply because when there's a motivator, things get messy. Now, I believe the first instance of research onto this subject was from Stanford University. Forgive me if that is incorrect. This is just plucking from what I'm remembering here right now. But they conducted an experiment where they grabbed, a bunch of younger kids who all liked to draw. Inherently, they already were drawing. And so they brought them out and, in the laboratory environment, they had them draw. And what they would do after they did a good drawing was they would give some form of reward. A gold star, a piece of candy, whatever you would give, a small child and make them feel rewarded. And what they found, both in the children and then in the later experiments with the adults that they tested as well, once they started giving the reward, those children were far less likely to continue drawing. Now, that might be a bit counterintuitive, and for most of us it is, but that is simply what the research states. When we are in pursuit of a goal, and that goal is the reward we get after doing the hard thing, we're much less likely to actually pursue that hard thing. Rather than framing it as, I am doing this hard thing because I know it will get me somewhere. What I often do myself is I will say, I have decided that I want this thing. It is my choice that I want this result. Not the reward, but the result of the hard work. And then, if I want to achieve that result, I have to do this hard work. And the hard work is going to get me where I want to be. And that, seemingly, according to the research as well as my own anecdotal experience, that is a far more valuable motivator than simply sitting back and rewarding yourself with a cheat meal at the end of a hard workout week or whatever the case may be. One more thing on those goals that you're going to be starting to implement in your life is that they need to be concrete. So let's say for fitness, because it's generally applicable to just about everybody, if you wanted to get more fit, you're not going to do that. That's not a goal that you can achieve. What is more fit than I am now? Versus, I want to run my 4-minute mile. That is a distinct goal. In fact, if you said, I want to run my 4-minute mile by the end of 6 months, whatever date that is for you now, my 4-minute mile is going to happen. And then remind yourself, I decided to do this, and because of that, I must get on that track today. I have to do this in order to achieve what I want to achieve. And that's basically it. I'm sure there's, plenty more that I could talk about, but we're already going a little long here, so I'm going to wrap it up. I can't wait to see how much more you get done every single day now that you're going to start implementing the threat of losing what you're pursuing, as well as setting distinct goals for those things, and then going after it deliberately, reminding yourself that you have to put in the hard work in order to get that distinct, measurable goal. The goal that, if you fail to get fitter, did you, didn't you? But if you fail to do your 4-minute mile by the end of 6 months, you know that you did not hit your goal. So that's also something very important, and I cannot wait to see what you do with that information now that you're going to start applying that. Thank you for watching. Since you got this far into the video, I know that you'll love our future videos as well, so go ahead and leave this one a like and subscribe to the channel so you can not miss those. If you know of any ways that you've used, or you know people who have used other methods to overcome procrastination, go ahead and leave them in the comments. I wonder how many people you'll help with that. Until next time.